I know that a lot of DNS instructors have always wanted and seen the place in DNS education for a strength and movement specific coursework. I'm particularly excited about doing this with you guys, partly because I've worked with both of you so much. I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from you, Dr. Ulm. And doing movement specific DNS is, I believe, exactly what the trainers, the DNS exercise trainers, have been clamoring for. What is it going to look like over the weekend from you? What are the 3 to 5 big takeaways that are going to, on Monday morning, when they get back to their clients, when they get back to their coaching sessions, going to be the things that they reach for that are instilled over the weekend?
Well, I mean, like originally DNS was sort of born in the clinic, and it was a rehab approach. But as you know, we all know, it's actually more of like a list of fundamental principles of movements that can be applied in the rehab setting, but they can also be applied in the gym setting or in the sport setting. And that's kind of what we do with the strength training class. And the strength and movement summit that you guys are hosting is going to be a great place to basically take those principles of movements and then apply them to many, many different scenarios, not in the rehab setting though. So when you're doing strength training or personal training or performance training, the principles still apply, but how you actually apply them are completely different than you would if somebody comes in and like they have a torn rotator cuff and you're trying to rehab that. So this will be a great opportunity for us to do that. I'm going to, just kind of focus on, obviously I have to talk about bracing and trunk stability and all that kind of stuff, breathing and bracing. We'll get into nasal breathing a little bit because I think that is critical if you want to be able to maintain an optimal stabilizing strategy. And then just because this is kind of what I've been focusing on for the last couple of years, we're going to apply this to kettlebell stuff. So at the strength courses, we get to kind of do this a little bit, but I'm excited for this because it'll be like a focused, several hours just working on kettlebell training, most likely the swing, which is kind of like one of the hallmark exercises. So we get to take the DNS brace, the pressurization, intra-abdominal pressure, whatever you want to call it, and then start applying it to a hinge pattern and then eventually a ballistic hinge pattern, which is a swing. And that'll be cool because a lot of people use the kettlebell swing. It's a useful tool that you can use both in rehab and the performance setting. And this will be a great opportunity to basically teach the people there how to actually apply a DNS brace to a hinge.
And I just want to chime in here and say, I used to be a professional dancer, and one of the biggest takeaways that I never got in any other like coaching fitness training was applying posture. People think of it as posture, but it's really that brace. What is it for? It is to maintain, to contain the global movement pattern, which is movement of, the big two, hips, shoulders, and the posture through those movements. And DNS is literally the only training program that has not only codified these positions and what they're supposed to look like and how they're supposed to move, but done it in a way that makes sense throughout, the course of the lifetime. It's like, oh, this is where this comes from. This is where this movement is supposed to be applied from.
Well, it's also the only one, DNS is the only school that really defines how we brace. So I always, in the strength courses, I say bracing or the term brace is a non-specific cue to get someone to consciously stabilize. So, whether you're there's some brilliant people out there, they just basically like, all right, we'll just take this TheraBand and go like this. Then now your core is activated. Well, there's a million ways to activate your core and they're not all created equal. DNS is the only school that I know of that actually goes in and says, no, this is the optimal way to stabilize. This is how you do that. And we'll cover that, at the strength and movement. And so even if someone's never had a DNS class, You know, I'm
Yes.
going to make sure that I give a very, very good detailed explanation of not only what's going on in a proper brace, but how to learn it, how to execute it, and then most importantly, how to integrate it with the breathing cycle, because that's how you sort of get it to be continuous, whether you're
Yeah.
consciously thinking about it or not.
And in multiple modalities. And I think that's the power of having the three of us that work in so many different ways, because you get the idea in DNS certification courses, and then you go, but wait, and you start having all of these questions. And now we're going to take that work and that knowledge, and we're going to put it to work in our bodies.
Yeah. And to build off of both of your comments that you just made, my focus, my passion is the movement preparation aspect or application of the DNS concepts and principles, focusing on quality of support function in the limbs, quality of respiration and stabilization function of the diaphragm, doing it dynamically so that we combine mobility with stability. We also facilitate the coordination of postural and respiratory function of the diaphragm. And by doing this dynamically, it's a perfect tool, perfect way to prepare ourselves for performance, for specific exercises. And then the other focus that I am passionate about is what we call the check get up. And I'm looking forward, Rich, me and you workshopping with Maggie, check get up, talking about the nuances, the concepts and principles and the application of loading the developmental sequence with the kettlebell. So I think the combination of all three of us are the way we nuance things, the way we communicate things. I think everybody's going to get a lot of benefit out of this, and it'll help them apply and integrate these concepts
Own ideas
to what they're doing.
And I will say, we're all doing this in our daily lives. These are not big ideas. Like, Rich is strength training, Mike is movement flowing, Mike is check get upping, he's progressing it. I'm doing all the things that I do. And I think we've all worked together and we know each other well enough that in kind of a collaborative teaching setting, it's going to be supportive to all kinds of coaches, not only one style of coach, but across the board. If you're just a movement professional, you do movement training, you're going to get to understand why is loading and progression so important for your population. If you are a strength and a weightlifter, you're going to start to understand, oh, this mobility isn't just so I can go into a yoga class. It's so that I can continue to progress and have that longevity throughout my training career.
It'll be good because there's going to be stuff that somebody could take if they're doing one-on-one training. There's going to be stuff that people can take if they use strength training or movement training in their rehab process, and it'll be stuff that they can take if they do small group or even large group. Because I've seen Mike take 50 people, last year at the strength training at the UFC Performance Institute. Mike took 50 people through a movement flow, and he was able to sort of warm them up for the different exercises that we were going to be performing. And that can be done. I mean, you could do that to 1,000 people, I suppose. But so whether you're going to work one-on-one with somebody or a small group or big group, we'll be able to kind of be teaching concepts that you can use in each one of those settings.
And to that point, I would say cueing, people are going to get some huge cueing education over this weekend, because we're not focusing on manual therapy. We're not focusing on that rehab specific modality. So we are going to really cultivate and challenge our ability to cue a specific response based on what we know about these concepts and principles. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Thanks, guys.
All right.